Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see very important topics that appeared in our today's newspaper. So first of all I want to give you a glance about this prelims paper guys. And here this time the question format had been changed. There are new formats of questions they gave. That is the first thing. And next one is they included mostly facts based questions like BIMSTEC regional councils, and they asked about even cops, and they asked about uh, peace missions that happened earlier, but those are like mostly unpredictable. No one will predict that this kind of questions will come. And next change is they introduced ethics based questions. There are 3 to 4 ethics related questions. That means you should not think that ethics is only the part of mains. UPSC can give any question under that umbrella of the syllabus. Okay, you should not think like this is for prelims, this is for mains. You have to do your preparation integratedly. Okay, so these are the 4 things that they are there, and this time the paper is very lengthy. Entire one side is one question. Because of this, you have to focus on time management. Okay, normally this exam is for 2 hours. That means you will get 120 minutes. And how many questions? 100 questions. That means on average you have to do one question within 1 minute. So keep this time in your mind. Within 1 minute you have to answer that question. That means from now onwards you have to focus on fast reading, understanding. While reading that question or statement itself, you have to apply the concept. That means you have to be very fast. Unless and until if you are not going to maintain time in the paper, you are not going to do that paper. And this time cutoff will be very low. And if you compare this level of this year prelims with last 10 years, this is the toughest paper in 2026. This toughest. Everyone thought that 2023 was like toughest paper, but this year paper beat that toughest level or difficulty level. This is the toughest paper. So my sincere advice is try to focus on conceptual clarity. And if your prelims if you are preparing only for prelims, you cannot clear exam. You have to do your mains preparation and prelims preparation simultaneously. Then only you can answer such type of analytical questions. If you are focusing only on facts, sometimes they may not. And we have 4 core subjects normally, right? What are those 4 core subjects? Polity, history, economy and geography. But surprisingly this time, there is very high number of questions they gave in prelims, in this history part. History part more than 20 questions. No one expected. And polity just 6 questions. And from science and technology it is 19 questions. And current affairs more than 30 questions. So you should not skip current affairs classes for sure guys. If you skip this current affairs classes, then you will be out of the race. And one more thing I will say here is, whatever the monthly magazines we are giving, from that directly picked questions are 13 questions. And I gave, I think I didn't forward, I think I forwarded that important topics document in group. From that many questions directly came. Okay, so prelims point of view, whatever the current affairs we teach in the class and whatever the material will give to you, that is more than sufficient. Whatever the level of questions will come from current affairs, you can do that if you perfectly read our magazines. And as well as before your examination, like this time, next time we'll be conducting test series, and also we'll be giving that kind of important topics list. If you're perfect with that, that is enough. That is a confidence I can give you guys. Because many of them, they are very sure that yes, they are doing current affairs questions very good. And you have to keep always in the mind about cutoff. And many students, what the mistake they did is time management they didn't do. So because of that, they end up by reading only 60 to 65 questions. If they end up reading only 60 to 65 questions, at last there might be easy questions to solve, right? So always you have to read question paper in round format, rounds. At least you have to complete 2 rounds of reading of question paper. Because you know this set format, right? A, B, C, D, 4 sets will be there. So sets are nothing but the same questions, but the shuffling of questions will be there. If A set is having easy questions in the first, means D set will be having easy questions at last. If you are in that set, it's okay. But if the easy questions are at last, means if you are tired up by reading all these difficult lengthy questions in the first level, means you will be missing lots of questions in the last. So don't do that mistake. So just you have to skim through the paper and you have to identify where the easy questions are there or where doable questions are there. You have to do that first and you have to come to this lengthy questions last. That means you have to prepare on even what should be the strategy to be followed in examination. Don't go blindly. And what are the test series we conducted here? Many students, they complain that paper is lengthy. Every time I used to have this complaint only. But in the final examination, normally UPSC used to give question paper in 48 papers. 48 papers, but now it is 56. You can imagine how much lengthy it is. Okay, we will train you to prepare in that way, like how exactly final exam will be there. So don't do any complaints regarding questions, difficulty level, it is not there in my book. I already said you when I took this class of techniques that 100 questions you will be doing only 30. That happened here directly. And many questions are like not written in anywhere in the standard books also. That means you have to apply logic, common sense and techniques. That will work. The students who applied that techniques, yes, they will be out of this situation. Or else you will be succumbed into that case. Okay. So here it is not about reading books, understanding, but even you have to know strategy, which question you have to attempt and which question should leave, and which questions you have to do first and which questions you have to do last. And next one is time management. How much time you are giving to a question, including bubbling. Are you understanding? So these are the things that you have to start learning from the first itself, guys. From very first, whenever we are going to give you the questions, and now onwards, what are the tests we'll give? We'll give from this new type of questions format only. Sometimes that questions or that content will be there in your book or not, I don't know. But you have to apply techniques and you have to decide your own like strong areas and weak areas, and you have to know like which questions you can attempt and which questions you should leave. That strategy please learn from now, guys. Okay, it is my sincere request. After seeing this 2026 paper, everyone's mind got blocked, literally. And some students are like, I am giving exam from 3 years or 4 years, I am preparing for 6 years, but this paper is like not according to UPS. Like that, they are creating some self-doubts on them. And many are leaving, many are like, they are going to end this preparation here because after seeing this paper. So don't come into that trap, guys. If you are practicing from the first, for sure you can do it. Okay. So what you have to do is learning of strategy, learning of techniques and tips, and try to understand where UPSC will make you the trap. I already said you some trap words, right? I gave you 15. So just follow that, guys. For sure you will be clearing the prelims. That is the thing that I can say. And if possible, I will be taking that analysis of paper today or tomorrow, guys. I'll showcase that paper and I'll tell you how you have to use the trap words. Everything that is for your foundation course only. Okay. For online and offline, I'll take that paper analysis so that you can understand how we can use the trap words that I said in the class, so that you will be getting confidence. Okay, and this time the paper, what is the cutoff? Cutoff will be like 75 to 80, not more than that. And even I'm guessing like it will be less than 75 itself. Okay, 100 questions, 75. If you apply these techniques, you can do it easily. Okay, but not only techniques, you need to have the knowledge. I will show how you have to solve that paper. Mostly today afternoon, I'll take the class. Okay, clear? At least we can do some doable questions. And I'll ask you like, what is a trap word? And you have to answer that. Clear? Then you will be getting some confidence. Like knowing or not knowing that also, how you have to solve that question. Okay, clear? Okay, now let us see the important topics. The first topic, it is about Padma Awards. There are 2 to 3 articles in our today's newspaper. It is related to Padma Awards. And this time, there were 2 questions related to Nobel Prize. Never ever expect. For last 10 years, there was no question on Nobel Prize in UPSC prelims. But this time, 2 questions were there. UPSC will give you shocks. I already said you will be getting the terms that you will be seeing in the paper for the first time. There are many in our paper, but I'll tell you how you have to tackle that. Clear? Okay, so this is about Padma Awards and is important from your GS paper 2 under governance. And next topic, it is about horse trading at horse speed. Stalin takes a dig at TVK after AIADMK MLAs switch sides. This article is talking about horse trading. You have to know like what exactly the meaning of horse trading, because UPSC asks 2 to 3 questions in this way. Crowdfunding, what it is. This time UPSC can ask horse trading, what it is. Okay. And next one is WHO declares Ebola outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. So here you know about Ebola outbreak is going on in Africa. Because of that, whatever the IBSA, International Big Cat Alliance Summit is there in India, we postpone it. And now WHO declared it as public health emergency. So you may get a question like public health emergency. WHO declared Ebola as this, and it will be giving you the statements, and it may ask you which of the following can be done in this public health emergency and who will decide everything. On that you basically can frame the statements. And this topic is important from SNT from GS paper 3. And next one is from black to grey. This article is talking about black hair to grey hair. What is the meaning of black to grey? That means there is increasing of old age population in India, and how we have to tackle that situation. That is this. And next one is baby bait. So actually what is happening in this Andhra Pradesh state is government is providing incentives for increasing of child. Okay. So here this article is saying that if government itself is giving incentives for women to go for reproduction, what happened? Women has to, after delivery, they has to take care of baby for sure. Government will be not taking care of baby. Then what happened? Whoever the women who are giving birth to the baby, because of this incentives, will they go for work? No, they have to stay in home and they have to take care of their children. Because of this, what happened? There will be decreased labor participation of women. Yes. So that is about this article, and we have to see that from governance point of view from GS paper 2. Okay, now let us see one by one. Okay, there are 2 to 3 articles related to this Padma Awards. Just I took one image and she is famous, right? Who is she? So you know her. So because of this I took this. Okay, and one more reason why I took this image is one important point which is given under this image. I'll read it out. BJP MP Hema Malini receives Padma Vibhushan conferred posthumously, very important, posthumously to her late husband and legendary actor Dharmendra on his behalf from President Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi on Monday. The key word here is posthumously. That means after death. After death, her husband got this award. So normally this Padma Awards will be given very rare for the persons who did. But here in this case, he got that and his wife is receiving this award. So because of this, now onwards you have to remember, this Padma Awards can be given posthumously but in very rare case. Are you understanding? On this, UPSC can give a statement, can be given posthumously, but many of you might having an idea that only living persons will get award, but even dead also got this. Are you understanding? On this kind of points, UPSC will be stressing more. Okay, now let us see some facts regarding this Padma Awards. Padma Awards are nation's premier awards, and these awards will be given for the people who had distinguished contributions from different fields of public services and human endeavor. For people who are giving this public service and human endeavor, so they will be giving this awards. And this one is, if you see about the historical evolution, Padma Awards were instituted in year 1954. From 1954 onwards, they started giving this Padma Awards. And next one here is, we have how many categories? We have 3. Earlier we have only 2, but that had been restructured into 3. Now we have 3. First one is Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri. Which is highest? Padma Shri is highest, right? So we have Padma Vibhushan, we have Padma Bhushan, we have Padma Shri. And there is one fundamental right, right to equality. Which article talks about right to equality? 14 to 18. And I don't know whether you can recall it or not. This time there will be a question on articles. I said this or not? This time there is a question on articles, but they didn't give article number. They indirectly asked question on articles. Today afternoon I will show that. Okay? How UPSC can ask you indirect way. This is highly unpredictable actually. So I will show, and I will get you a confidence that yes, I can do this, whatever the difficulty level the paper is. After listening to my class for 3 hours in afternoon session, you will be getting a confidence that yes, I can do prelims. That is for sure. Okay, I'll tell you the tricks and tips, and you have to write every tip and trick whatever I say in the class. Okay, see here, which article talks about this titles? Abolition of titles. There is one article in our constitution talks about abolition of titles. That is Article 18. Article 18 says that abolition of titles, because we have to ensure equality, right? But there is one exemption. What is that exemption? Only military, like general, major, colonel, vice admiral, like that, what are the military titles are there, they can give that. And even academic titles like doctor, okay, they can use. Except these 2 other titles, they cannot use under Article 18. Even if person who is getting this Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan, they cannot use as a suffix or prefix after their name. Okay, only military and academic distinctions they can use before their name, but not this kind of Padma awards. Clear? And who are eligible here? All individuals. There is no discrimination based on race, caste, occupation, rank or gender. This can be given for Indian citizens, foreigners, NRIs, PIOs, that is nothing but persons with Indian origin, and OCIs, they are eligible for this awards. And next, what is selection process? On this there was a question, I think, not this, Nobel Prize. Okay. So here, if we want to select who is the person who is going to get this award, we will be having a committee for sure. So actually in 2024, they gave a question on Nobel Prize committee. Yes, Padma Awards committee only. They said who are the members of this Padma Awards committee. In that they gave first option is President of India. So here President will be giving award, but he will be the member of committee. Logic, are you understanding? So here, whatever the image I showed here, Hema Malini is receiving award from President. If President has to give, she will be the part of this committee. If you eliminate that, you will get answer. Like that, you have to use your common sense. By seeing images, photos in the paper, you have to recall the things. Yes, it will be there or not. You have to apply common sense in the paper. Then only you can do this. Unless will that point will be written in any book regarding that who is a part of the committee? No, right? And even it is impossible for remembering everything. We cannot remember everything, no. So even whatever the life we led from last 25 years, can we remember each and every day what we did? Then UP syllabus is very vast like an ocean. Is that possible to remember everything? For sure, no. But you have to apply common sense and logic in the paper. That only will work. And students who wrote this 2026 paper, they might have already understand that whatever the books they read, how many times they read Lakshmikant, that is no use. You have to apply common sense, logic. Okay? Yes, here you can see this process will be governed by a committee called as Padma Awards Committee, and this is appointed annually by Prime Minister. And here in this committee we have Cabinet Secretary, we have Home Secretary, we have Secretary to President, and 4 to 6 eminent persons will be there as part of this committee. And what they'll do, this committee will submit the recommendations to Prime Minister, and Prime Minister will be sending that to President for final approval, and on one fine day they will arrange this ceremony and President will be giving this awards for this awardees. Okay, here there are some regulations we have to follow. The first one is it will be not given posthumously in general, but in very rare cases, highly deserving expectations persons can get that. That is the first one. So here in this image also, this rare case is there. Because of this, I selected that image. And this one is higher category Padma Award is only granted after at least 5 years since the previous Padma Award. That means if they got Padma Vibhushan, if the same person, if they are getting this Padma Shri, means minimum how many years they have to wait? At least 5 years. And this one is this award cannot be used as a title, which cannot be used as a prefix or suffix of their name. And next one here is the maximum of 120 awards per year they'll give. Okay, see this next article, guys. Horse trading at horse speed. Stalin takes a dig at TVK after AIADMK MLA switch sides. Read this title and tell me what you understand by this title. It is related to which state? Stalin. Tamil Nadu, clear? Tamil Nadu, what happened? What about the election result? Vijay came into power. What is the party name? TVK. Okay, which party lost the power? Stalin party. Okay, now tell me, what does this title mean? Horse trading at horse speed. Stalin takes a dig at TVK after AIADMK MLA switch sides. What does it mean? Yes, they are moving from one party to another party. Then what is meaning of horse trading? After winning from one political party, if they shift to another political party, it is also called as horse trading. Which it comes under which law? Anti-defection law. Yes. So if UPSC wants to give a question, how can it give? Horse trading, what does it mean? A, B, C, D. And second type of question is, consider the following statements regarding anti-defection law. Both are same. But if they give directly anti-defection law, you may answer the question. But if they give horse trading, it will become a little bit tricky. That means you have to know about alternate words. Clear? Okay, now let us see this article. What is horse trading? Horse trading is unethical practice. And this time I said from ethics there are 3 questions. It is also unethical practice. That means next time there will be a question on horse trading. Are you understanding? So like that you have to evolve your strategy and you have to expect how questions can be asked in UPSC by seeing PYQs. That is the only way. Okay? Horse trading is unethical practice of what we are doing? Inducing elected legislators. It may be MPs or it may be MLAs. After electing from one political party, they will shift on to another political party. This concept is called as horse trading. Why they will shift from one political party to another political party? Because of their personal gain or because of getting ministries. Yes, because of the personal gain like money, power, ministerial birth. Okay, so this is called as horse trading. So why this horse trading will happen whenever we have hung assemblies or whenever we have coalition party government. Coalition means nothing but if one political party is not getting power or number of seats which is required to make or form the government, then what happens? Other political parties will come and will join and it will form a coalition government, and from that one person will be like head, right? So here in this kind of coalition parties, if there are any differences in ideology, because every political party have their own ideology. If ideology conflicts are happening, then what happen? They will divide. They will move on to another political party. This is not for the first time. Even in our history also we studied this. For example, we have, when we started this INC. INC is Indian National Congress in 1885. After that, what happened? We have two factions. Moderates we have, extremists we have. Moderates, they have like only 3 P's. They will follow petitions, prayers, and as well as protest. But these extremists, they want to kill, they want to create violence, and they have to get independence. But in this INC, these two people are the part. So because of ideological difference in Swadeshi movement, what happened? They split. They came out. That is called a Surat split, right? In the same way, whenever this coalition parties are forming, in the present context, obviously ideology difference will happen. Because of that, they can come out, they can move. This concept is called as horse trading. This comes under Schedule 10. That is nothing but anti-defection law. Is that clear? Are you understanding? Okay. So, if you say about this anti-defection law, which comes under which schedule? 10th schedule. And this 10th schedule is not there in our original constitution, but through 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act it was added. Okay, and next one here is, what are the provision when that person can be disqualified under this anti-defection law? There are 4 criteria. What is that 4 criteria? First one is, if a person who elected from so and so political party, if he is voluntarily changing political party or shifting to another political party as a single person, he can be disqualified. For example, I elected from Congress and I am shifting to BJP. Obviously, I am changing my political party, so I will be disqualified. And second one is nominated person. I am a nominated person. Before 6 months, if I join any political party, it's okay. But after 6 months, if I am joining any political party, I will be disqualified. You know, nominated persons, like governor will be nominating persons, president will be nominating. So like that, if there are any nominated persons who are joining any other political party, before 6 months, it's okay. But after 6 months, disqualified. That is the second one. And third one is, you know, independent candidates, right? They will be not from any political party independently. I am not from Congress, I am not from BJP, I am not from BRS. I am independently contesting. If I am joining any political party, independent candidate should not join any political party. If in case, if I am joining, then I will be disqualified. That is the 3 cases. And fourth case is, every party will be having a whip. For example, session is going on, legislative assembly session or like Lok Sabha session is going on, and we have different political party people sitting, right? MLAs of Congress, MLAs of BJP, MLAs of BRS, like that they will be sitting. So if they want to pass any bill, then what happens? So one person will be guiding whether to vote in favor or vote in against. If you are not following the advice of whip, then again you will be disqualified. So these are the 4 conditions in which a person is disqualified under anti-defection law. But there is one exemption. What is that exemption? If here from one person from one political party is changing, it comes under disqualification. What if entirely, if this is a political party and these are MLAs of this political party, if 1/3 of people, they are directly merging in another political party, it is not disqualified. Okay, but later on, 91st Constitutional Amendment Act said that no, it should be not 1/3, it should be 2/3. If 2/3 of political party members, they are merging with any other political party, it will not come under disqualification. And here you have to remember this 91st Constitutional Amendment Act. Clear? Okay, so this is about your anti-defection law. Okay. Okay, why we have to control this horse trading? Is there any need to control horse trading? Yes or no? What do you think? Then why will think if one party person is going other party? Do we need to bother or not? What do you think? Do we need to control this or not? Why we have to control? Because people are directly electing these people. Yes, we people are casting our vote and we are electing them. Electing them, and if they are moving from one political party to another political party, can we maintain public trust? No. So here what happened? If horse trading is happening, that will lead to erosion of public trust. And even if they are moving from one political party to another political party, whatever the schemes they have to operate or what are the legislative process they have to do, obviously that will be stopped. That will lead to policy paralysis. Policies cannot be completed. And this one is obviously it will be undermining the committees. Obviously there will be lots of compromises. Everything can happen. So because of this, we have to control this horse trading or shifting of persons from one political party to another political party. Is that clear? Okay, see this next article, guys. Closely monitoring Ebola situation in Africa. Health Ministry, and there is one more article in PIB. It says that WHO declared this Ebola as public health emergency. So we are going to take these two together. So Ebola, you know what is it? Ebola, it is a virus which is normally seen along this river of Ebola in Africa, and it is a zoonotic disease. Normally this virus is present in fruit bats, right? And if people are coming in contact with this fruit bats and even consuming that food bats, that what happens? This virus will be affecting this humans, and that will cause what? Ebola hemorrhagic fever. Okay, and we have different species of Ebola, and recently WHO identified new strain. What is that? Bundibugyo virus, and this is very dangerous compared to that of earlier strains of Ebola. And if you see, it had been identified in the year 1976 near Ebola river. And transmission, it is nothing but zoonotic disease from fruit bats. It will be transmitting to humans. And next one here is, what are the symptoms? Fever, fatigue, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, and slowly, one by one organ will be getting failed, like kidney failure, liver failure, sometimes brain death, suddenly coma and death. And fatality rate is very high, and treatment is only supportive treatment. There is no complete cure for Ebola. That is a problem. And if you say about what is this public health emergency of international concern, so here who will declare this? WHO. WHO will be declaring that if any disease is very fatal, if it is spreading very fastly, and if it is having impact on the public health, it is declared as what? Public health emergency. It is highest level of global health alert. Because of that only, we postponed our international Big Cat summit. Okay. And next one here is, that's it guys, we have to take proper care. Okay, see this next question. From blacks to grey, India needs to prepare for a future with an aging population. Black hair to grey hair, that means youth to old. That is a simple meaning of this, from black to grey. Yes, black hair means nothing but young, grey is old. There's shift from black to grey hair. Okay, now this article is saying that India needs to prepare for a future with an aging population. What is this? What is the meaning of this? India needs to prepare future for a future with an aging population. Think, what does it say? What do you understand by this? What do you understand by this? Think. That means, do you think India is not prepared for aging population? Hmm? Do you know TFR? What is TFR? What is total fertility rate is about? TFR, you said total fertility rate. What is total fertility rate? And it is PYQ in 2024. What is total fertility rate? It is very simple. In the reproductive age of woman, how many children she will give birth? Okay. For example, I have 2 kids. So my TFR is only 2. I am not going to plan any children in future. So I have only 2. So my TFR is 2. So here we will calculate TFR of a country together. Like we will take women in our country and we will take the number of children they have and we will try to do average. You know average, no? Sum by number is average. So here we will be calculating on average women in India are having how many children in their reproductive age. Okay, that is TFR. And here you have to know one concept. So we have developed states in south. We have less developed states in north. In which area we have more TFR? Developed or developing? Yes, here only if the area is not developed. If they are developing, they will be having more TFR. Developed, they will be having less TFR. This is 2025 PYQ. 2024 they asked what is TFR. In 2025 the question was like, consider the following countries, in which of the countries there is low TFR. And they gave 4 to 5 countries. Are you understanding? So if you know this concept, developing and least developed countries are having high TFR, eliminate that. By names itself you can understand which country is developed or not. For example, if you take Nigeria, is it developed or less developed? Nigeria is in Africa, it is less developed. If there is a country, France, Italy, Japan, in this way UPSC will ask question. Are you understanding? You need to know the concept clear. Okay, now you guys tell me. Here less developed states, here more developed states. Here we have more TFR and here we have less TFR. And my question is, in which area we have grey population more? Areas which is having more TFR or areas which are having less TFR? Understand the question. That means here we have old population more. Yes. Here we have less old population because generations are coming at a very faster rate. Here normally TFR is 3 to 4, but here it is around 1.5 to 2. But India's target is to maintain 2.1. 2.1 TFR we have to maintain in our country. In northern states it is more, in southern states it is less. In southern states if you go to Kerala it is less than 1.5 even. And even AP reached 1.5. Okay, that means you are maintaining less number of children. If you are maintaining less number of children, what happen in future? Who will be more? New generation or old generation? Old generation will be more. Yes. What about productivity of old generation? If age is increasing, can they do work as these young people do? Obviously, what happened? Economic burden can be happen, right? So here, because of this article is saying that India has to maintain future. India has to prepare for future because in future there will be increased aging population. Okay, are you understanding why it is there? And the next article is also related to this TFR concept. Remember that. I will ask once again questions. Okay. Now let us see this article. What exactly it is saying? India is shifting from young, there is nothing but black, towards grey, that is aging population. Why? Because of 2 important factors. First one is, as I said, TFR. TFR is decreasing, old age population will be increased. That is one thing. And second one is rising longevity. Longevity is nothing but lifespan. Will you accept lifespan is increasing or not? If you go back to modern times, there were lots of diseases, no proper sanitation, no proper food, famines. Because of that, people used to die. Especially in Bengal famine, 10 lakh people died in one go because of starvation. But do we have that kind of situation now in India? Do we have starvation related deaths? Yes, poverty is there, hunger is there. But like that earlier, whatever the famines happened, we are not getting that kind of famines now. And even what about health? better opportunities compared to the earlier, and even government is providing whatever the essential basic requirements they need through different schemes. Obviously, what happened? Lifespan will increase. If lifespan is increasing, what happened? Obviously, old age people will be increased. Yes or no, will accept it or not? So here the two reasons which are given here, that is, one is fertility rate is decreasing, that is TFR is decreasing. Second one is rising longevity. So because of this, now we are going to face challenge of increasing aging population in our country. Are you clear? Okay, now let us see some data, and you have to make note of this data. If you see current status as of 2025 to 2026, elderly population, that means nothing but the people who are above 60 years, they are just 10 to 11 percentage now. And now the median age, you know, median mode, mean, median mode. Yes, what is mean? In statistics, you will be coming across in CSAT. Mode is mode, most repeating number is mode. Median is middle number, right? Average. So here, median age in India is around 29 years. That means youth population or more in India now. Are you understanding? Okay. If you see the data by 2036, now whatever the elderly people are there, they are going to increase to 15%. And in 2050, 20% of elderly will be there. By 2046, furthermore increased elderly population, and there will be decreasing of work age population will happen. So because of this statistics, now it is giving a warning to our government that whatever the facilities which are there, they should be like old age favored facilities. At least we have to start them from 2036 onwards. Are you understanding? So because of this article is in news. And if you see the region wise, southern states will be having more aged population compared to the northern states. I said this point, right? And what is the impact if old age people are increasing? There will be working age population decrease or increases? Decreasing. That is nothing but shrinking of work age population. That will lead to economic development. Our economic development will be going at a faster pace or less fast? Less fast. That will lead to slow down of our GDP growth. That is the first impact. And what about labor? Labor productivity, labor will be obviously reduced in our markets. And what about this demographic dividend? Old age people will be increasing, demographic dividend will be decreasing. And next one is there will be potential labor shortage can happen. Yes or no? Will old age people will work efficiently? No. There will be labor shortage. And what about savings? When we are working, when we are in youth stage, we'll save whatever we want and we'll buy assets. But what happened in the old age? Can we? Then what happened? Initially there will be higher savings, but at later there will be declining of savings because elderly people will have more diseases. Hypertension, diabetes, ulcers, liver damage, lung issues, heart issues, stents. They have to go for multiple surgeries. In my home itself, my grandfather had 4 times surgery. Every time surgery means obviously that will leads to they have to take their savings and they have to spend. No, what happens? Savings will be declining if age will increase. Remember this one, guys. Whenever you want to create more assets, you can do whenever you are in young age. Don't think that I will increase my property, I will increase my saving after 50. That won't happen. That will not happen practically. So only if you want to create your own assets, your own image, your own brand, your own anything, that can happen whenever you are in energetic stage. Beyond that, we have to sit and we have to do. Okay? Don't think that. Like whenever, if you want to become rich, if you want to save more things, you have to do within age of 35 to 38. That will be the maximum age. Beyond that, we cannot. Next one here is what about public finances? If old age people are increasing, government has to increase more pensions. So no, I think grandparents in your family will be getting pensions every month 2 to 4,000. Yes, and even especially if you compare with male and female, who will live more long life will be for male or female? Female. Why more long life for female compared to male? Any idea? Why? Because of hormones. Actually, in male, there is only one hormone. Male reproductive hormone is only one, that is testosterone. But in female, we have plenty. We have progesterone, we have follicle stimulating hormone, we have oxytocin, we have, okay, oxytocin, okay, so all this, what they will do is, they will try to take out this fat deposition from the blood vessels. That will not allow fat to deposit in the blood vessels. But male have only one, that is testosterone, that will not do this cleaning process. Because of that, what happens? The blood vessels, fat will deposit. Because of this, male will be more vulnerable to this heart disease like heart attacks. Have you ever heard women had heart attack and died? Very, very rare because of this hormones. Okay, that means in old age population, who will be more? Widows will be more. Are you understanding my point? So because of this, government has to spend more money on widows. Widows, they will be getting pension. Yes? Okay, and next one here is health burden will be also increased because of rising diseases like hypertension, diabetes, other non-communicable diseases. And mostly we have a concept called as feminization of aging. Very important concept. What is feminization of aging? Women have long life compared to that of men. Because of that, mostly in aging population also we can see more widows. This concept is called as feminization of aging. And this women widows are obviously dependent on their children. And government has to take more care for this women widows. This concept is called as feminization. So whenever you read your society, you will come across this feminization of agriculture. Okay, like that. That means more women are doing this agriculture. So here feminization of aging is nothing but in aging population we have more number of women. Are you understanding? Okay, and even obviously there will be some family and social impact. Now, what we have to do, how we have to prepare for this old age population. So this will be like a 10 marker question. Now till now we studied just background and what is exactly the story. But now you have to come to the exact point what UPSC can ask in your mains. So here what requirements we require? The first one is we have to strengthen our healthcare. And here you have to remember one keyword. If you go to hospital, there will be one display, especially like us, gynecologist means who will be dealing with women related cases, and like orthopedics, bones, neurologist, nerves. Now tell me guys, the people who treat this old age are called as geriatricians. Are you understanding? So here we have to focus on geriatric care more. Have you seen this baby, oh baby movie? Telugu movie. In that the professor will be like geriatrician and he will be telling about his mother in the introduction class. First class of introduction. Can you recall that scene? Okay, what is the problem of this old age people? They will say continuously only one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing. Yes, we need to have lot of patience to deal with this old age people, and they will be in a not a situation that they will not accept what we say also. Most of the time the arguments will go on. I think you might have some arguments with your grandparents in your home. That is most common in every house. So here we have to focus on geriatric care, and even government has to provide, or like private insurance companies has to provide insurance. We have to focus on insurance and as well as geriatric care. That is the first step that we have to focus in our country. And next one is obviously pension and security reforms, so that we can cover broader coverage of people now. And next one is we have to even focus on skill development and lifelong learning activities. So mostly what happened, there will be some works which can be done by sitting in the home also. You know this agarbatti making, and even the cotton we will use to light diya in our prayer houses like that. So these are the works that can be done by this elderly people by sitting. So we have to organize some communities where this older people can come and sit and can do this kind of small works through skill development. Because of this, if these people are increasing, if they are not contributing to economy, our economy will fall down, right? So for that reason, government has to focus on skill development and lifelong learning activities to boost elderly people participation. And next one is we have to come up with policies for women, rural areas, and even we have to give training related to intergenerational support. And next one is we have to focus on investments in productivity. Okay, because those people we can recruit them and we can focus on ethical training, ethics. Ethics is normally degrading in our society. Because of degradation of ethics, what is happening? Crime rate is increasing at a very faster rate. So we can take that people and we can try to provide training related to ethics, good habits, what to do, what not to do, everything for the children. So like that we can use those people. Are you understanding? So this is about this article. Clear? I think you got lots of important points, new points. See this article guys, baby bait. Incentives for having more children will keep poorer women out of workforce. Okay, again the same point is TFR. TFR replacement rate in our country is 2.1, but some states are having more, some states are having less. Southern states is having less and northern states are having more. And this article it is about AP government. AP government came up with providing incentives. Incentives nothing but supports. They will be giving some cash price or cash for the women who are going for second pregnancy or third pregnancy like that. If they give birth to girl child, they will be giving a cough. Like that, the government will be giving some incentives. What will happen if government will be giving incentives? What they'll do? They'll go for planning of pregnancy and they want to give birth to more number of children. Why government is giving incentives? Because the replacement rate is TFR is just 1.5 in AP. That means in future there will be no young population. There will be increased old population. Then what happens? That will leads to increased burden on government. So now government wants to increase this TFR in AP state. They are coming up with incentives, guys. Okay, now if they are giving incentives, it's okay in the long run. But initially, whenever women who give the birth, then what happened? They need to get proper rest for at least 6 months. And after giving a baby, there will be entirely night outs. It will be having impact on the women health. And to recover itself, it will take lots of time. Right? And even sometimes they will go into pregnancy depression, pregnancy mania. 99% of women, they will enter into that pregnancy depression. It is nothing but after pregnancy, what happened? During this pregnancy time of 9 months, everyone will be taking care of mother. Eat this, sit here, do this, you should not do this. Like that, everyone will showing lot of care. But as soon as delivery happens, who will be taking care more? Kid. They'll be taking kid and nobody will ask mother like, had you have your food? Because even I had to face that. I went to depression also. And next one is everyone earlier used to care, you will be not at all bothering about you. Girls, remember this, keep in your mind. And next one is entire night you have to wake up itself, because initially for 3 months after the baby delivery, baby will cry for every 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And mother has to feed the milk. And in my case, I have 2 kids. One will be getting up, and again within half an hour, one will be getting up. Within 1 hour, one will be getting up. Entire night till 6 months, no sleep. Even today, also at least twice or thrice they will get up in their sleep and they'll cry. At that time, we don't know why they will cry. We can't understand what is the situation, and we will be in like sleepy mood. Entire day will be like very tired. So that entire situation is called as pregnancy depression, pregnancy anxiety, pregnancy mania. Okay, so here if that in that kind of situation, can women will work? But in my case, I started my work after around 15 days after my delivery by seeing by both the kids. I'm like, I will not leave my work. But here normally women they will not come to participate more in the labor, in the work. So because of this, what happened? Obviously, our workforce will be reduced related to women. Then what happened if women are poor? Take this condition, rich woman is there and poor woman is there. Poor woman has to work for sure. Then only they will be getting livelihood to continue their life. Because of this pregnancy, if they are not going to work, then what happened? Furthermore, increased poverty can happen, right? So that is about this article. Rich woman, nothing will happen. But what about this case of poorer women? So this poorer women are keeping outside of workforce. So think on this, guys. What measures can be taken by the government? Is that good or not related to providing incentives for just increasing of TFR? If I talk means it will become a controversy. I don't want to talk, but you have to come up with your own opinion. Think about this. Write down positives and negatives. Based on positives and negatives, take a stand. Yes or no. It is entirely based on your own perspective. Clear? If I take this kind of articles, that will create controversy, that I know. Okay, see this question, guys. Consider the following statements regarding anti-defection law. First one, anti-defection law was added through 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Next, it is contained in 9th schedule of Constitution. And okay, this is third statement, sorry. This is fourth. A nominated member can join a political party within 6 months of nomination without disqualification. Fourth one is the president decides disqualification cases under anti-defection law. What is the right answer? In the same way, there is one question on schedule. Because of that, I took this question in 2026 paper. I'll show that question. Just by eliminating that, you can get answer. The same format. It is 10th. In 2026 question paper, they changed 6th schedule with 5th schedule. Okay. So if you remove this 2, and what about this? Who will decide disqualification? Speaker or chairman? This is also wrong. Eliminate this 4th, answer will be 1 and 3. If you are having a peace mind in examination hall, you can do it. Okay, see this next question, guys. Horse trading in Indian polity refers to. In this way, there were 2 to 3 questions. They gave the word, what does it mean? ABCD options. I'll show the paper. That means this kind of questions you have to practice more. Okay, A is trading of agricultural animals, B is illegal funding of elections, C is inducement of legislator to switch political loyalties for power or money. Third one, last one is coalition politics. These two are similar. What I said, you have to take 2 similar options and you have to identify one. Answer is switching of political parties. Okay, that's all, guys. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like this class, please do hit the like button and please do share this class to your friends. And please do subscribe to this channel, guys. Thank you so much.